Patrick, racing TV viewers have seen a lot of you in England of late. Have you enjoyed that aspect in terms of going to a few different tracks in England and seeing how everything's done there and riding winners as well?
Oh, yeah, well, look, I think everyone enjoys going riding, steering around odds on shots. I think that part's very enjoyable. But yeah, I really enjoyed meeting new people, seeing new places, learning new things. You know, I know all the places in Ireland at the back of my hand. I'm riding here 18 or 19 years now. So it's a new adventure and it keeps me interested and fresh, and I like to have something to aim for.
Was it an ambition you've always had or something that's kind of spiralled in recent years?
No, I suppose, you know, when we went for the English title last year and I got sent over to Ludlow, Perth and Foss last in the week before, and obviously went to Ayr, didn't get a winner in Ayr though, but I just saw them as, you know, why wouldn't I go and ride these tracks? I see them all the time. I'm not going to ride forever. When I have the opportunity to do it, it's fun.
And you said about keeping fresh. Is that something that's quite important to you? I mean, you said you've been riding for quite a long time. Is that something that just helps for the memory bank and in general?
Yeah, I like having something to aim for, you know, whether it's, you know, and obviously you want to win a Grand National or a Gold Cup, but like it's hard to aim, you know, you do your best for that, but, you know, trying to have you know, I've been lucky to get kind of the record of winners and stuff like that, and, you know, the older you get, you like to do new things, keep fresh.
Plans fluid at the moment for any other trips, or is there one track you really want to go to that you've never done?
Well, I'd love to ride on Ascot over fences. I've got Newcastle and Kelso lined up in the near future, but yeah, we'll just try to keep ticking them away.
St James's Park, that wouldn't be a bad away day.
Might try to get a few around a few of the football stadiums as well. Yeah, Ellen Road was an experience anyway.
What have you made of Amorim and his start at Manchester United?
I think you got to bend a little. You know, I know what he's trying to do, but if something's not working, you have to change at some stage. So, jury's out.
Anyway, back to the racing. Just a brief word on this year's festival. Willie has got another really strong team across all boards, but he said himself this morning in terms of Galopin Des Bordes, it might be his finest hour as a trainer if he could emulate Arkle and Best Mate as a three-time winner of the Gold Cup.
For growing up, you know, the triple Gold Cup winner is the peak. That's the pinnacle. We've had stories of Arkle. Like, but for me and anyone in my generation in Ireland, Arkle is a black and white picture. And obviously, you guys had Best Mate over in England, but we haven't had a triple Gold Cup winner in Ireland. Now we've been here before. We had Album Photo. He had his shot. He just came up short. And I remember thinking, you know, we'll never get another chance at it. And to be back with another chance, you know, to emulate Tom Draper, Pat Taff, Arkle, that's legendary stuff.
Do you feel he's better than ever, Galopin Des Bordes, based on the two performances this season?
Yeah, he's definitely as good. Yeah, he could be. He could be better than ever, but he hasn't regressed at all. His enthusiasm for it. He looks more enthusiastic this year than ever.
In terms of the rest of the picture, Factor Far, what have you made of his season so far? Do you feel it could be more improvement over 3.25 miles, or would you be more tempted to go down the Ryanair route?
Look, I've no doubt that he'd be very hard to beat in the Ryanair. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, you know, if Galopin Des Bordes gets hit by lightning or a stray seagull or something, you'd be fairly happy to have Factor File coming along behind him. And you see it with Gold Cups. You know, you don't just walk into the winner's enclosure. Things happen. So if you own racehorses, you own them to win the Gold Cup. So he's still worth his chance. You
rode in Sunday's Irish Champion. How did you feel? You guys were slightly way back from state Man and Lossiemouth, but at the time it looked for racing fans in general that we were on for a mouth-watering clash. Thankfully, she seems to be okay. State Man avoided her being stricken as well. But what did you feel at the time? I know you were riding, so it's tricky to say, but
look, we couldn't see an awful lot from where we were. We were 100 yards back. The gallop was ferocious. They went an extraordinary gallop, and the silver lining is that they didn't get to boil the pot they were cooking, because they'd have had an absolute grueler. Definitely, what I would say is the statement looked comfortable going there, and when you fall, it may be because you're pushing, you're on the edge. So it's very hard to call, but thankfully she got up. But look, Statement still sets a standard as of now.
That was going to be my next question. Would you feel going into it, if you had the opportunity to ride either, State Man would, given his CV, he'd be the one that most people would choose in that scenario?
Well, look, I can completely understand why Paul chose him, and you know he's won the champion hurdle. He sets the standard. The mare has to get past him, and from Paul's point of view, he'd love to have known what the result was, because then he could make a definitive decision. Now it's still guesswork. But for me, Stephen, he's 8. He's not 9 or 10. It's not like he's a waning. He's the champion hurdler.
One horse you've ridden this year is Kopek Des Bordes, and he took a big step forward in a lot of ways at the Dublin Racing Festival. Did you feel that sort of performance could be in him going into the race? Was he working well at home?
I thought he'd win. I didn't see that kind of performance. I don't think anyone saw that kind of performance. I mean, it was extraterrestrial. We did a lot of schooling with him after Leopardstown, but he'd schooled before. I think he tweaked something, because he was going left, and he's never done that before. So, but with all the schooling, he ran quite keen. And I know I was out the back on Carnegie, riding to run well, and I'm watching Kopek Des Bordes all on the back. I'm thinking he's running too keen. And then I see him taking on the loose horse turn at the back, and I thought to myself, he can't keep going. I'm going to come and it's going to fall into my lap. And he just picked up and went again, gave the last 3 foot, one hard held. It was just as good a performance as I've seen from a novice.
And of course, Final Demand was also very impressive, and he looks like he might go for the Turners. But they both look two very exciting novice hurdlers, and we were going into the Dublin Racing Festival thinking, what's the leading contenders for both races? Now we know.
Yeah, look, Final Demand is again a beautiful horse. I won his dam, Zuska. She gave me a very important win in Leopardstown Christmas a couple of years ago, well, many years ago now. But the great thing I thought about Final Demand was he was probably a much easier ride than Kopek. He just settled, he popped away, he jumped. So going for that 2.5 mile race, that's going to be a huge addition to Paul. But tactically, he can have a lot more options. What I loved about Final Demand, the performance was fantastic, but how professional he was with it.
And just on the novice chasers, it was good to see Ballyburn back in business first up.
Yeah, brilliant. Look, I think Kempton made a man of him. We did plenty of schooling him again. I schooled him the week before he ran, and he's very clever now. And I love the jump he put in the last. He went down to the last, and Paul left him alone. He met it quite long. He could have did what he did at the last in Kempton, but he didn't. He was very neat and tidy. He lost a little bit of ground, but it was neat and tidy, and he got going again. And he just has this 6th gear. He's a half length down further from the line. He wins 5.5 lengths, and he doesn't even look like he quickens, but he just has that 6th gear, yeah.
Just looking ahead to this year's festival, one race which you've had good success in, of course, is the Champion Bumper. Now, you've obviously ridden Calypso Chance, which isn't trained by Willie, but how impressed were you with when you rode him for Gordon?
Very impressed. Look, I think, Harry Swan said to me, he doesn't do much at home. He obviously keeps himself for his home, and sometimes you get caught up as well. He was an English pointer, didn't cost a lot of money, and sometimes it's hard when that's in the back of your head when you've got other horses that have flashier profiles. What I liked about him was he travelled without being too keen, and when I really asked him, he picked up. And for me, he'd be an ideal horse for Champion Bumper. Yeah, I'd love to ride him.
Bambino Fever was impressive at the Dublin Racing Festival. You obviously rode against in that race. What did you make of the performance?
I thought it was a top-class performance. Again, she's not flashy at home. And again, not the biggest profile. Won a 4-runner, 2-finisher, point-to-point. Always looks big, which is great for filly. Always looks like she should be worked harder. And look, Future Prospect ran too keen, so she didn't might as well not take part. But I think Bambino Fever was every bit as good a performance as when Relegate won it. What's
the one horse away from the big guns that you really can't wait to see at Cheltenham? Not Galopin de Champs or a Man and Lossiemouth, but some of those other ones that we saw at the DRF, for example, maybe.
I would think that I thought Stormheart was very eye-catching in the 2 mile handicap hurdle, and obviously got caught out with a handicap experience. I think with that under his belt, he'd be a great ride in the county hurdle.
And then just back to you, you've still hopefully got, 4 or 5 more years riding? Is that sort of where you see yourself?
I'm 35, and my father rode till 40. He had a winner in Cheltenham 40, winner Witch, 1996. So Derek O'Connor's 42 or 3, so plenty of years left. And I don't take the same kind of falls that the pros do. So as long as I don't annoy Willie too much, we should have plenty of years left.
And we said before we were recording about what you ride every morning at Close Hutton. You said you stay on the ground. In terms of that, is training in the future something that you're very, very passionate about?
Definitely. Look, I used to ride it every morning, and actually I sprained my ankle very badly running the track for the Pardubice, not even in the Pardubice. And I was on the ground then for maybe a month afterwards. In the end, I ended up staying on the ground. I just felt I was more use on the ground. I could see more. You can see all the horses rather than just your own counts. And I still got up to ride work and school. So, but definitely I enjoy training and helping out. And there's a few horses there, you know, where I know the owners, and you know, I can kind of manage them a bit. And yeah, I mean, look, Willie's going to train for another 7, 8, 10 years, I imagine. So there's no rush.
When you were younger, did you ever think about training, or was it always want to be a jockey first?
Well, I wanted to be a United player first, Man United player, but that
We could do with you now, but
never got picked. I used to go down to Waterford to the camp every year, but I didn't get the phone call. Yeah, but sure, look, my grandfather trained, my father trained. It's sort of what we do, isn't it?